Hey guys, welcome back to Builds by Maz. In this video, I'll show you how to install a garage door opener from start to finish. For this demonstration, I'm using the Genie model 3053, but most of the steps shown here will work for the majority of garage door openers. Let's get started. Alright, so we'll start off by getting everything unboxed and organized. So we have a couple instruction manuals, the actual opener which has the motor inside, a couple of covers for the light bulbs, we have the belt, over here we have the opener rail, there are a couple of support brackets, this black piece up front is the garage door arm, then you have a couple of openers, one for inside and outside, some wiring, the carriage assembly, and then a few bags for all the miscellaneous hardware you need. Start with the section of the rail that has a hole in the front. This wheel, which will connect to the belt, is going to be inserted right here. Go ahead and open up the orange bag, and inside you'll find this clevis and cotter pin. Insert the clevis pin through both the rail and the center of the wheel, and we're going to secure it on the other side using the cotter pin. The wheel should be able to spin freely in place. You'll find a bolt and lock nut in the orange bag, and we're going to install it in the pre-drilled hole here. Simply insert the bolt through the holes and screw on the lock nut. This is going to act as a stop for the carriage assembly, which we'll install next. This black piece here is the carriage assembly, and note that it has arrows pointing to the direction that should be facing the door. We're going to slide it on, making sure these arrows are facing towards the wheel we installed. We can now attach the remaining rail sections by simply sliding them together as shown here. We'll now attach this sprocket assembly to the other end of the rail. This will connect the motor to the belt drive. Simply slide it on to the end of the rail, and we'll also place this rail strap over the top. Next we'll install the actual belt. Notice that each end is different. One side is gold threaded and the other side is silver threaded. Wrap the silver end counterclockwise around the sprocket assembly, and the gold side will be threaded through the end with the wheel. We'll now attach this metal piece called the turnbuckle. If you look closely, you can see it's marked with an arrow for the side that should face the door. This side should be attached to the gold end of the belt. Turn this lever downward to disengage the carriage assembly. Then run the turnbuckle through the assembly, making sure that the belt doesn't get twisted and the teeth are facing the rail. Bring the turnbuckle to about the midpoint of the rail and attach the silver end of the belt. The silver and gold ends are threaded in opposite directions, so you can tighten them simultaneously by holding the belt with your hands and twisting the turnbuckle upward with your thumbs. To see if you have enough tension, check the belt on the side opposite from where the turnbuckle is. It should be lifted about a 1/4 inch above the bottom of the rail. You're looking at this space here where my finger is. When you have the appropriate tension, go ahead and tighten up the nuts on either side of the turnbuckle so that it can't move. We can now lower the sprocket onto the top of the garage door motor. You'll find 4 self-tapping screws in the orange bag, which we'll use to attach the sprocket as well as the rail strap. Make sure everything is tightened down really well. We can now add the belt retainer behind the belt to keep it in place, and we'll install it using 2 self-tapping screws, and these come from the clear bag. Before moving on, we need to determine the highest point the garage door travels when opening or closing, which is normally right on the curved part of the track. Measure the gap between the track and the door at its highest point, which in my case is about 4 inches. You can then add that measurement on to the height between the floor and the top of the track to get the total height of your door at its highest point. Transfer that measurement to the area above the garage door and add 2.5 inches. Make a mark, and that's where you'll install the header bracket, which looks like this. Now normally you'll install this directly into your garage wall framing, but my garage is a little weird, it's pulled away from the wall, so I'm going to install it into this metal support bracket. There are a couple of 1 3/4 inch lag screws in the orange bag, which can be used to drive this into your wall framing. but in my case, I had to buy machine screws and nuts to attach it to this metal support. You'll then use another clevis pin and slide it through these holes in the header rail, as well as through the holes in the header bracket, and that's how they'll attach together. It'll then all be secured with a cotter pin. You'll need to raise up the garage door motor on something, like a ladder, or in my case I'm using a trash can. Get it lined up, and then you can secure the pin through the headers. It should look something like this. So here's where we are right now. What I need to do next is raise up this portion so it's above the garage tracks and the whole rail is flat and level. You see these metal support brackets right here? We'll need to add another set on this side, which will support this motor head. I measured the full length of the garage opener rail and transferred the measurements to my exposed garage rafters. My garage ceilings are really tall, so I had to buy some additional slotted angle brackets like this. I'll put a link to these in my description in case you need to buy some extras too. I cut this first piece to size using an angle grinder and attached it between two of my rafters. I measured the height between the rafters and the header bracket and cut another piece to match this size. We can attach these to the motor head using the included bolts and lock nuts. I then lifted it up and attached it to my pre-installed support on the rafters. Only one side is attached, so it's a bit crooked here, but this is a close-up of how everything is connected together. I installed a bracket to the other side, which leveled everything out, and then also added a cross brace, which would prevent the whole thing from wobbling when the garage door was opening. Now we'll install this door bracket from the blue bag on the actual garage door. You want it to be about the same height as the top set of rollers on your garage door. Drill pilot holes into the door and then use 3 self-tapping screws to permanently secure it. Again, you want it to be about the same height as these top rollers here. Next, I tied the emergency release cord to the bottom of the carriage assembly. The garage door arm is made up of a curved and straight portion, and we're going to attach them both using some more clevis and cotter pins. Attach the straight arm to the bottom of the carriage assembly and the curved arm to the door bracket. Bring both parts of the arm together and we'll attach them using 2 nuts and 2 bolts spaced apart. Make sure the arm isn't vertical but is at a slight angle. Next we'll install the safety sensors. You have to install these or the garage door opener won't work. You can drill it directly into your back wall, but since I just have a metal post there, I'm going to attach it on the side through the garage track. Make sure the sensors on both sides of the door are lined up and are at the same height. Using the included wire, we can connect the sensors to the garage door opener. This is actually 2 wires in one, and if you look closely, one side has black markings and the other side is just plain white. Pull a couple of inches of the wire apart at the end and strip off the tip of both sides. We'll attach each separate wire to each of these 2 terminals located here. Bend the wire into a candy cane shape, wrap it around the screw, and tighten it into place. Make sure the wire is wrapped around clockwise. Do the same for the other wire on the second terminal. Use the included wire staples to run the wire along your wall and ceiling until it reaches the motor head. This wire isn't fully stapled in yet, but I ran it up along the wall and all the way along this rafter down to the motor head, and it's going to be attached into this slot right here. Trim off the end and do the same process for the second safety sensor, so you'll have 2 wires here. I wasn't able to film this, but you want to split each wire into its white and striped part and strip off the ends. Then insert both striped sections into terminal 1 and both white sections into terminal 2. You just press in the tabs below with a screwdriver, insert the wires, and it'll lock in place. You'll then add a third wire, adding the white side into terminal 3 and the striped side into terminal 4. This wire will run from the motor head all the way along the walls and ceiling to where you want your garage switch, which is probably by the doorway into the garage. Here's the included open and close switch. The back has 2 terminals. One is labeled BW for the striped side of the wire, and the other side says W for the white side. Strip the ends of the wire, wrap them around the back of the screw, and tighten them into place. You can then screw the opener directly into the wall. Light bulbs are not included, so you'll need to buy them separately. I got this kind made specifically for garage door openers, and they've worked out great. The bulb covers on either side just attach with tabs. Slide in the ones at the bottom, and then line up and click into place the ones on top. We can now engage the carriage assembly by clicking this tab to the side. Then we'll manually open the garage door until the carriage locks into place on the turnbuckle here. Lift up the garage door until you hear it lock into place. We can finally now plug in the garage opener motor. Make sure both safety sensors have lights on them so you know power is being distributed. On the motor head there are 3 buttons: program set, garage lift, and garage lower. Before operating, we need to set the upper and lower limits. Start by holding down the garage lower button until the oval light is solid blue. Then once you release it, it should start flashing. Press it again and hold it until your garage door goes all the way down to the floor, and then release the button. Then press the program button one time. The oval and circle LEDs will light up once and turn off, and your down position is now set. To set the upper limit, press and hold the garage raise button until the oval light turns on. When you let go, the circle light will begin flashing. Again, press and hold the garage raise button until the garage lifts up, and keep holding until the door is fully opened. Be sure not to let the carriage assembly come all the way back into the motor head. Let go where you want the door to stop, then press the program button once, and your upper limit will be set. Test to make sure your wall mount also works. Press it once, and the garage door should shut all the way. Press it one more time and make sure that it fully opens. If everything works properly, then you're all set. As a bonus, while you're working on your garage door, I also have a video showing how to make it quieter by replacing your old metal rollers. Just listen to how noisy these are. If your garage sounds like that, I highly recommend switching to nylon rollers, and you can check out the video in the top right for a full instructional. Here's the difference in sound. It definitely makes a huge difference. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you found it helpful if this is your first time installing a garage door opener. I've been really happy with this Genie opener, and the belt drive is a lot quieter and smoother than chain-driven models. Thanks again for watching, and be sure to subscribe to support the channel, and we'll see you next time on another home improvement project.